the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
Okay, so you flagged this really deeply disturbing news report. A young couple killed right here in D.C. Let's try and get into it. Maybe move past the initial headlines and just understand what this article tells us happened.
Yeah, it's grim, this piece from the Daily Signal. It lays out the terrible event, but it also captures those first crucial reactions from the community. Gives us a snapshot.
It really does. So the core of it is Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, this young couple, shot outside the Capitol Jewish Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And the suspect, Elias Rodriguez, arrested quickly, reportedly shouted, "Free, free Palestine." He's now charged with first-degree murder.
Yeah.
And then the details. They worked at the Israeli embassy. Yaron was about to propose in Jerusalem. It's just layer upon layer of tragedy.
It really is. In the article, it immediately jumps to the grief, right? And this vigil, organized by Phyllis Catholic.
Yeah, that stood out to me too, a Catholic group stepping up so fast.
It suggests, maybe some existing ties, some solidarity already there. It brought Christians and Jews together almost instantly.
Right, which kind of speaks volumes about a desire for unity, maybe, a sense that this kind of hate affects everyone. And it mentions Muslims were there too, condemning it.
A unified front against the violence, it seems.
Exactly.
And the practical side, more police around religious sites now, which, makes sense given everything.
Very understandable reaction.
So our goal here, I think, is to really unpack this article, look at the human cost, obviously, but also these immediate responses, what little we know about the alleged motive and the bigger worries the surface.
Precisely. Let's start with Yaron and Sarah, the individuals. The article gives us glimpses. Yaron, 30, knew Francis de Buxedon and Jessica Costescu from some national security program. And that detail about the proposal, planning it for Jerusalem, it just... it highlights everything they lost so suddenly.
It really hits home, doesn't it? And Sarah, 26, knew Adrian Huizenga through work.
Right.
And Huizenga's quote, "It's powerful. It's just so sad." You see this rhetoric and this anti-Semitic violence very clearly targeting Jewish people. That theme comes up again and again in the piece.
Yeah, this feeling that it's not just one awful act, but part of a worrying trend, a real fear people have. And Francis de Buxedon saying, for him to be taken away from us so soon is really shocking. It just underlines how senseless it all feels.
Absolutely. These were real people, lives, plans, just gone.
So the article moves to the vigil, the immediate reaction.
Yes, and Adrian Huizenga's comments there about anti-Semitic violence, needing to stand against hate. And he specifically mentions his Christian faith, its connection to Judaism.
That's a really strong statement of solidarity, isn't it?
It is, very pointed.
And then Simone Rizkal's question. Wondering what else has to happen for the West to wake up. You can just feel the raw emotion there, the deep concern.
Yeah, a real sense of urgency. Like, is this part of something bigger? And Huizenga doubling down on that interfaith connection, rejecting any kind of anti-Jewish hate.
Okay, so let's shift to the suspect. Elias Rodriguez, 30, from Chicago. The article is clear. He reportedly shouted, "Free, free Palestine," when arrested, charged with first-degree murder.
And U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi is quoted saying authorities believe he acted alone for now.
Right. Wow. Key qualifier, investigations ongoing. These are just the first reports.
Exactly. But that statement, free, free Palestine, it's obviously significant. It's a known slogan tied to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
So it suggests a potential political motive investigators will be digging into.
Presumably, yes. They'll look into his background, influences, the whole picture. But important to remember, charge doesn't mean convicted. There's a legal process.
Of course. And this leads straight into those broader concerns people voiced. Jessica Costescu. It is just heartbreaking. Antisemitism does not rest. It's real, and it's in our nation's capital.
A real wake-up call feeling, as she put it.
Yeah, like this fear isn't abstract. It feels very present, very real for them.
And Annabeth Havenar, who lived in Israel, she echoes that. I hate that these things are happening so often, and she stresses, the need to speak out.
A sense that silence isn't an option.
Right. That these incidents feel more frequent, a rising anxiety.
And crucially, the condemnation wasn't just from one group. Hina Akhtar, identifying as Muslim, called the killing not justified at all. barbaric.
That's such an important point. It really pushes back against framing this as just one side versus another in some conflict.
Right. It shows it's seen as a fundamental attack on human life, crossing religious lines.
Absolutely. An act condemned by people of different faiths.
Okay, and finally, the institutional piece. The police increasing patrols at religious sites.
A concrete action, trying to reassure people, deter more violence.
And the Philos Project's role, well, Philos Catholic, under their umbrella organizing that vigil, shows these interfaith groups are active, ready to respond.
Yeah, the Philos Project itself focuses on Christian engagement in the Middle East, building ties with Jewish communities, so it makes sense they'd be involved here.
Interesting context.
These initial responses are vital, of course, but the long-term picture depends on, well, continued vigilance, community work, and what the investigation ultimately finds. The fact that Philos was there organizing shows there are networks ready to activate in a crisis.
Okay, so wrapping up our look at this article, it paints a picture of just profound loss. 2 young lives taken. We see the immediate grief, the condemnation from many different voices. The first indications of a potential motive tied to the suspect's alleged statement.
Right, and these really serious concerns about rising antisemitism being voiced quite loudly.
And the initial steps by police and community groups trying to respond.
Yeah, what's striking is how this one event just instantly pulls all these threads together. The human cost, the fear, the need for solidarity, the shadow of political rhetoric. It's all there.
So this first look at the news report, it gives us the initial facts and reactions, but it definitely leaves questions.
Right.
And maybe a final thought for you, listening. When you consider all these different reactions, the heartbreak, the anger, the fear about wider trends, the calls for unity, what does this specific incident happening right here in D.C. suggest to you about the climate right now around, religious and political tensions? Think about the perspectives we've touched on and maybe what other information you'd want to find to really get a fuller picture of what this all means.
Make it make sense. Protecting rules and prisons. Deep dive podcast show. Let's dive in. In the heart of this nation, under skies so blue, there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true. From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep.